Podcast Answer Man, episode number 271, a Plugin Palooza.
Entertaining, educational, and encouraging content that makes a difference.
This is GSPN.TV.
Join the community.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Answer Man. My name is Cliff Ravenscraft, and this, my friends, is the podcast about podcasting, helping you take your show to the next level. It doesn't matter if you're a brand new podcaster, if you have been podcasting for many years, or you haven't quite yet gone over to learnhowtopodcast.com to start your own podcast yet. There's something we can all do to take our show to the next level. That's right, my friends. And today I am taking things to a whole new level by basically cutting out all the extra fluff and giving you nothing but pure content today. And it's because I have to. I can tell you right now, this episode's going to be about an hour and 15 minutes. And the reason why is because I want to bring you an updated list of all the plugins that I'm using today. You guys know that I'm a plugin purist, and I don't install a plugin unless I am convinced that I have to have it. And today, my friends, I have a plug-in palooza for you. I am going to be sharing a total of 16 plugins in this episode. So you want to start taking notes. In fact, you don't have to take notes. You can just go to podcastanswerman.com/271, and it will take you right to the show notes, which will have links to everything. And here's the deal. I wanted to cover this. I wanted to start things off and just go in the order in which I would recommend them. The problem is, though, is that I have 5. Actually, there are 4 that I can tell you guaranteed are tied for first place. A 5th one I haven't quite yet installed. I just bought it last night. Haven't quite installed it yet, but I'm positive that it's going to be tying with 5th place. So anyway, here's the deal. Let's go ahead and just get started let me first start off with the ones that tie for first place. First one is Backup Buddy. Now, for those of you who have been following me for a very long time, you've probably heard me tell you all about WordPress DB backup. All right, that was what I was using to back up and have a copy of my WordPress database emailed to me once a week. Well, I will tell you, I am no longer using WordPress DB backup. Instead, I am using Backup Buddy. Now, this one is right at the top, and it has helped me to sleep better at night. And here's the situation. At the around the 30-minute mark or 25-minute mark in this episode, I have to cut myself off of talking about everything else because I did a 30-minute interview with Corey Miller, the CEO of iThemes, who are the creators of the Backup Buddy plugin. 30-minute conversation, which will tell you why this thing is tied for first place with about 3 or 4 other WordPress plugins. All right, so enough about Backup Buddy because you're going to get plenty of that in that conversation. And by the way, it is a paid-for plugin, and yes, I do have an affiliate link. All right, the next one I have is the Pretty Link Lite plugin. Pretty Links is a plugin that allows me to take my URL and create any slug after that. That's the slug is the thing after the slash. Like if you were to, for example, go to podcastanswerman.com/backup buddy, that's my affiliate link for Backup Buddy. What that does is it actually takes you to my affiliate link, which is it's a much longer link. But it basically essentially will take you to the Backup Buddy plugin site where you can purchase the plugin. And if you do, because you went there, the cookie is going to actually show that it came from my affiliate referral, and I will generate a commission by you purchasing that plugin if you choose to do so. So the Pretty Link is a plugin that allowed me to choose Backup Buddy, and when I chose that, I say, okay, if somebody types in /backup buddy, then forward them to this website, and I can make it any website I want. I can actually make it forward to pages on my site of Podcast Answer Man, or I can make it forward to any other site in the world. Now, I use this on my gspn.tv domain as well. And in fact, almost all of my affiliate links for, B&H and equipment and all those other things, those affiliate links are now pointing to B&H. And what was really cool, I used to have all my affiliate links go over to Amazon, but now I've had this new relationship I told you about last week with B&H Photo. And all I had to do, I didn't have to go and update all my old blog posts to fix those links, because before, if I did let's just say I did a affiliate link and mentioned, let's do the Roland R-05 recorder. Back a long time ago, I did an entire episode or two about that, and I just went in and said, if you want to purchase this, here's my affiliate link. And it was a link to gspn.tv/R05. And R05 was easy for me to remember, so I knew that if I ever needed to email somebody, it's like, oh yeah, here you go, you can get it at gspn.tv/R05. Well, all of those old blog posts, all of those old forum posts and everything, they're all linking to gspn.tv/R05, which in Pretty Links used to forward people to the Roland R05 on Amazon, but I was able to go in and do a search in Pretty Link for anything that linked to Amazon. And anything that was linked to Amazon that is equipment or something that could be purchased on B&H Photo, I just went in and updated the link. So now if you type in gspn.tv/R05, it takes you to the Roland recorder on B&H Photo, which it's totally awesome. And in fact, I'm already seeing some nice sales that are being made there. I'll talk a little bit more about that later at the very end of the show when I play the outgoing music. But Pretty Link Lite. Now, they do have a paid version of Pretty Link. I've never used it. I've never felt the need to use it. I remember that before they had the pro version, it was just Pretty Link, and they had this thing at the top where you had an optional bar, so you could forward people to another site, but it still had this bar at the top, and that kept people on your brand, and people could easily click on something in the bar to get back to your site after they've, checked out whatever you wanted them to check out. I really, you can look it up. I've never to this day, and I am a very, very heavy user of Pretty Links. Matter of fact, let me just, I can just tell you, I think it's like 1,267. Because I just had a Podcasting A to Z student ask me the other day, but 1,267, it actually might be more. It might be 2,167, but I have lots of Pretty Links, and they're all over the place. They point to all these different places. And the cool thing is Pretty Links also tells you the number of times they've been clicked, and it also tells you the unique users. So I can actually go in and create a Pretty Link and then share that out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all of these other things. And it actually gives you some cool analytics on where people are clicking those from, and it's very cool. Pretty Link is certainly tied right up there with Backup Buddy as a number one plugin for me. For podcasting, you've heard me talk about it before, PowerPress. PowerPress, it is a plugin that allows me to easily configure a podcast or a WordPress site for podcasting. I have a tutorial on how to set it up. It's called WordPress for Podcasters, and you can get that at podcastanswerman.com/products, which, by the way, that is a permalink, not a pretty link. And a permalink is just, that's what I chose. That's the actual slug I chose for that page on my site. So, I could have actually named that anything, and then I could have created a pretty link that would actually forward to that. But anyway, I started to confuse you. Geeking out here. Anyway, PowerPress, if you want to learn more about how to hook up PowerPress into your WordPress site and do podcasting the way that I do here on Podcast Answer Man and all my other podcasts, then you can find that in my tutorial over at WordPress for Podcasters at podcastanswerman.com/products. But PowerPress is certainly tied right there in first place as well. The next one is Livefyre. That's Livefyre. Livefyre. This is a free plugin that replaces the built-in commenting system on WordPress. I love it because it's real-time commenting. You could actually be on the post, and as people are leaving comments, you see them appear flashing before your eyes. You can reply. It could actually turn into be a pretty decent chatting back and forth experience. It's really awesome. I love Livefire. I love it because one of the things that it does is it really helps you fight spam. And I'm going to talk about Akismet in a little bit, but I don't believe I need Akismet when I'm using Livefire because all the comments are going through Livefire, not Akismet anymore. It's not going through the WordPress one anymore. So Livefire has a really good spam protection system. I've seen a few false positives, but they're few and far between. And if you go in and mark them not spam, they have a great learning algorithm to keep that stuff from happening in the future. And so I'm seeing a lot less of those false positives. But Livefire is my plugin of choice for commenting, although I will say Discuss is another great option. I haven't heard anybody talk about this thing called Intense Debate in a very long time. If you want to leave me a comment about what plugin you're using for your comments and which one you like the best, feel free to share it at podcastanswerman.com/1. This is actually 271. Podcastanswerman.com/271 is the link to the show notes for this particular episode. Love to hear which one you're using, although I'm pretty sold on Livefire. So those four all tied in first place. All right. Now I want to tell you that there's a fifth one that would tie into first place if it works out exactly the way that I think it will, and I'm absolutely certain it will. But before I tell you about that fifth one, and I want to tell you about the other plugins. All right. By the way, I'll tell you the name of it first. It's called Lead Player Plugin. It is another paid for plugin, but when you hear what it does, I think you might get really excited. Especially, by the way, this podcast episode could cost you some money. It could cost you some money for Backup Buddy, and it could cost you money for Lead Player Plugin. And by the way, yes, both of them are affiliates. I'm affiliates for both of them, and I totally believe in their products. And I'll tell you why. Well, you'll learn why about Backup Buddy in the interview, and I'll tell you why for Lead Player Plugin. But before I do that, let me get to some other plugins that I use that I like a lot. Some of them I know exactly what I'm using them for. Some of them I really have no idea. But let me just tell you, Shareaholic. If you, by the way, if you go to for the rest of these, actually, let me tell you, Backup Buddy. I want you to go to podcastanswerman.com/Backup Buddy. PrettyLink, PowerPress, Livefire. All three of those can be found if you just go to your WordPress dashboard and under plugins, click Add New, and then do a search for any of the names. Of course, I'll have links to all of these at podcastanswerman.com/271. All right. And let's see here. The next one it's called Shareaholic, is the company who makes it, and it's called the email, bookmark, share buttons. All right. That's matter of fact, just do Shareaholic all as one word, and you should be able to find it. And it will say Shareaholic, and it'll have the little pipe sign, email, bookmark, share buttons. And it used to be called Sexy Bookmarks, by the way. I'm kind of glad that they changed the name of it because it was kind of weird working with some, female clients from time to time and say, oh, we need to install these sexy bookmarks. So in my mind, I'm kind of glad that they did a little rebranding there. But I love it. If you want to see the Shareaholic bookmark system, just go to podcastanswerman.com/271. At the bottom of the post, above my comments with Livefire, you'll see the little row of share icons where you can share this episode via Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, StumbleUpon, and a bunch of other places. That is the Shareaholic plugin. The next plugin that I am still using today, but very sporadically, is called Audio Player. This is by 1 Pixel Out. Now, Audio Player, I mostly use just the PowerPress to actually put my players in. But before I was using PowerPress, which has, by the way, the 1 Pixel Out player included in it, PowerPress has multiple audio players to choose from. 1 Pixel Out is my favorite plugin to choose. But Audio Player was what I used from standalone before I was using PowerPress. And if you go to gspn.tv/plus, you'll see an example of where I am using the audio player plugin by itself. So where it's not an embedded, it's not an embedded or not embedded, an enclosed audio media file on the post or page. There's sometimes I still want an audio player, and it's very easy to do it with the one pixel out audio player. And by the way, gspn.tv/plus has this. I think podcastanswerman.com/testimonials also makes use of this. So I still use the one pixel audio player. Most of you will never need it, to be honest with you. The Akismet, I want to tell you, this was the best spam finding tool for the longest time. I know a lot of people got really upset because it's no longer available for free. If you have anything, if you recommend any products for anything, if it's commercial of any use, they state that you must pay for their Akismet plugin. It's worth it if you are going to use the WordPress built-in commenting system. Let me tell you, you just must use Akismet, all right? And if they charge for it now, by all means, pay for it because it will be worth it. But I will tell you, you can go in there and I've seen people who have done it. They go in, they find a way to still get it to give them the plugin for free, the code to activate it. Listen here, it's worth the money. If you're going to be doing anything commercial related, pay them whatever it says. Honestly, though, I say forgo Akismet and just go with Livefire. That's my own personal opinion. Some other people would say go with Disqus, Disqus. I like Livefire myself, so I'll let you decide. But Akismet today, I don't think I even need it. I still have it, just in case. But and by the way, with Livefire, one of the things I just want to say, and this is true with Disqus as well, when people are leaving comments on the Livefire system, one of the things the Livefire and Disqus plugins are doing is they're actually syncing all of those comments back into your WordPress database. So if you ever turn off those plugins and decide not to use them anymore, your standard WordPress commenting system would be, put back where it was, and all of those comments would still be there, as well as all your responses and stuff. So just want to let you know that as well. So Akismet, I personally don't need it anymore, but I still have it. Google Analyticator. All right, that's Google, ANALYTICATOR, Google Analyticator. Anyway, I'll put a link to it at podcastanswerman.com/271. This basically just brings in Google Analytics right into my dashboard and gives me a quick overview, and also was an easy way to install the code that I need to run on each of my pages so that Google Analytics will pull it up. There's a lot of Google Analytics plugins that are available. My favorite, Google Analyticator, and that's what I'm using right now. The next plugin that I use, or actually that I don't use, it is a paid-for plugin. I think I have an affiliate link. Let me just check it real quick. If I go to gspn.tv/gravity, it is gspn.tv/gravity forms, and it will forward you there. So that is an affiliate link. And Gravity Forms is a paid-for plugin that gives you the ability to create contact forms, or any other form for that matter. You go to their site if you want. Use my affiliate link at gspn.tv/gravity forms. But here's the situation. I found that there are a lot of free contact forms, and they depend on your emailing service, your post email service from your server to send you those contact forms responses via email. And I found that those things work from time to time, and then they seem to fail. I've never really had a good interaction with a contact form until I used Gravity Forms. Now, Gravity Forms, basically when people are filling out the form, it's going on their secure site and it's using their service to email it to you. I'm a paid subscriber to them. I've paid for the thing. I used it for a while, but to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of putting forms on my site, although I do see some ideas and some thoughts about putting some forms on in the future. So I still keep it around, and it is still a plugin that I would use if I need a form on my site for people to submit and have it emailed to me. And there's a lot of benefits for Gravity Forms. Just check it out, gspn.tv/Gravity Forms. You can learn more about it. Not currently using it anywhere on any of my sites at this time. I just want to let you know that, but I will be again soon. The next one is called Lightbox 2. And if I'm not mistaken, there's got to be a new Lightbox out there, or they've got to do something to update this thing, because basically what it does is anytime you click on an image and there's a hyperlink, or actually no, anytime you click on an image, you should be able to click on the image and it will blow it up to a pop-up window, and it will darken out the background. So it makes it what's called a light box. And I really enjoy looking at images this way, especially when I embed a smaller image and I hyperlink it to a much larger size that people can see. The only problem is I'm finding that Lightbox 2, when people click the close button, it doesn't actually close. You have to click outside of the close button. And so I'm looking for an update there. If anybody has an option for replacing Lightbox 2, please post it in the comment section using my Livefire plugin at the bottom of podcastanswerman.com/271. The next plugin that I have installed, and I have no idea what it does, is called Use Google Libraries. Yeah, it says allows your site to use common JavaScript libraries from Google's Ajax Libraries content delivery network rather than from WordPress's own copies. Okay, I have no idea why, but my good friend Daryl Tott told me, Cliff, trust me, this will speed things up and help out your site. That's what you should do this. It's also made by Shareaholic, by the way, the same people who are using the sharing plugin. It supposedly works, and it's activated, and I run it because he says I should. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I take that back. It is not by Shareaholic. It's by Jason Penny. I was just looking at the wrong line. But still, what I said about what it's doing is JavaScript libraries from Google's Ajax libraries, CDN. Yes, all of that is true, but I have no idea what any of it means. All I know is that it's there. It doesn't seem to get in my way, and I'm told that it helps. All right. The next one is W3 Total Cache. This is a caching software that basically allows my website to create static pages or static versions of my posts on my site, so that every time somebody goes to, for example, podcastanswerman.com/271, WordPress does not actually have to go and look at my database and build the page for each and every visitor. It'll do it for the first person, and then there's a static version of that page. And basically what W3 Total Cache has said is like, listen, we already know what's on this page, so here, just serve this. And W3 Total Cache is smart enough to know that if I've gone in and I've made a change to that post, that it dumps out the cache. And when the next person reloads it again, it will go get the information from the database to build that page again. But then it has another new static version of that site. I've had people tell me that this makes no difference at all. I really am trusting the folks over at Servant Hosting. They actually installed this for me. They configured it for me, and I use it. So again, I wish I was more technical to know exactly what all it's doing, what it's not doing for me, and stuff like that. But the thing is I use it, and my site runs really well. So W3 Total Cache. All right, the next plugin that I have, and I did pay for this one. I'm not an affiliate for it. I wish I could. I should have seen if I could do this. It says version beta by Webinar Bridge. I've used this. I used this back when I did my Learn How to Podcast tutorial. I did it as a webinar first. And basically what Webinar Bridge, you can find this at webinarbridge.com. Again, not an affiliate link, but this is a paid for plugin. What it allowed me to do was to create a static landing page to promote my free webinar for Podcasting 101 is what I called it. And it had a little form that people could fill out, and it was, you're signing up for free. And this is what it allowed me to do. It allowed me to have people go in and fill out their information, and it notified them that we were adding them to my Podcast Answer Man mailing list. by signing up for this free webinar. And so it actually did two things. People filled out their name and email address. It registered them automatically for my GoToWebinar webinar, and it also automatically added them to my mailing list for Podcast Answer Man. And you can turn on double opt-in if you want to, or you can turn it off. I personally recommend double opt-in. People have to actually click to say, yes, I did want to be added to this list. So, but yeah, I think I did an episode on this a long time ago. In fact, let me just do a Google search. It's so funny. If you go to Google, type in webinar bridge, 2 words. I think I'm the second response down, and it was episode 224 of Podcast Answer Man. So if you want to hear more about Webinar Bridge, it's episode 224. I'll try to put a link to that in the show notes, and I'm actually going to episode 224. There we go. All right, the next one is called WP space smush.it or smush it. All right, so smush.it, WP smush it. All right, and this is a plugin. Let me see if it tells me what it says. It says reduce image file sizes and improves performance using the Smush It API within WordPress. This basically supposedly takes my images and takes whatever the file is, and it takes and throws out data that's not necessary, and without reducing quality, makes the file sizes of all of my images smaller. Okay. Sounds great to me. I'm just told that it makes my site load faster, run faster, looks better to Google. They like me a lot more when I do this thing. Honestly, it's there. I don't know how it's working, what it's doing. I did run it the first time, and it went and ran the Smush It thing on all of my images. I assume that when I'm doing these things that it's working. I don't know. But WP Smush It, it's there. I use it. I'm told that I should have it, and I guess I would recommend it to you as well. All right. And then the final one before I tell you about Lead Player Plugin is, let's see here, Lead Player Plugin. WP Touch. This is for making your site, I guess maybe a format friendly for iOS devices or mobile devices. I'm not a huge fan of looking at websites that have been converted over to mobile-friendly format. Even on my iPhone, I prefer to look at a website the way that it was designed to be looked at the desktop. One of my favorite things about these mobile browsers today is it has these great pinch and zooms and stuff like that. So I had enough people who said, you know what, I prefer a mobile theme, and I would love to browse your content using a mobile theme. And so I went ahead and installed WP Touch. I found that I actually go to my own websites quite a bit, and I found it frustrating to look at my website in this gross looking mobile format. That just seems so blah. And so one of the things I did is I went into the settings, and you can actually tweak one of the settings to where it's not turned on by default. So if you go on your iPhone right now or your Android device, and you go to podcastanswerman.com/271 for the show notes for this particular episode, one of the things that you'll find is that it'll load my regular homepage. But if you scroll down to the footer, it will give you the option for a mobile-friendly version, and that is WP Touch that's doing that. So I do recommend that you have it. Make it available for people who want it. And by the way, if you guys are on my site and you want to look at it in mobile-friendly, scroll down to the footer and you can activate that and see what it looks like. All right, and then the final thing that I'll do before we get into our interview with Corey Miller about Backup Buddy is Lead Player Plugin. Oh my goodness, my friends. This is going to be right up there in my top 5, tied for number 1 position plugin. It's called Lead Player Plugin. Again, this thing's not free. I paid for I think it's $184 version of this, but let me tell you, I would have paid more. And I do have an affiliate program, yes, but let me explain. I think you'll understand why. By the way, my affiliate link for this is gspn.tv/lead player. gspn.tv/lead player. I heard about this great plugin from my wonderful friend Pat Flynn from smartpassiveincome.com. He and I are in a mastermind group together, and we share resources back and forth. And when he told me about this plugin, I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. Well, one of the things, by the way, here's some of the benefits. The lead player integrates with obviously with WordPress, it's a plugin, but it integrates with Aweber, Constant Contact, MailChimp, iContact, and Infusionsoft. So one of the things, imagine this, if you had a YouTube video or any kind of video embedded on your site, imagine that if you were able to, at some place within the video, pause for just a second and then insert a opt-in email form where people could put in their name and email or their email address and hit send, and then that would continue on with the rest of the video. And then as soon as they did that, of course, it sends that off to your Aweber account. Now, personally, am I going to use that? I don't know. I probably not. Not something that really sounds that, but that's the whole thing about, it's the lead, gaining that lead. I'm not really big on building my list just to do anything and everything possible to get on people on my mailing list. I only want people on my mailing list if they really want to hear about my new products and services that I have to offer to them. I'm looking for those kind of people. So I'm not doing anything and everything. So this, some of you, I know that you'll love that. The other one is that it gives you the ability to put a call to action button on your video. So imagine that while your video is still playing, at the bottom, you can create this button, and that button can say anything you want. And it says, click here to buy now, or click here to see, to see this page, or click here. Any call to action you want, you can put it in there. And when they click that button on the video, it will take them to whatever link you put in. So there's the call to action button. Still not even what drew me in. I think that's great. I love the idea of having a call to action button. But here is why I love this. YouTube integration. All right. YouTube integration is why I perked up. This is why I bought it. So here's the situation. You can use this with existing YouTube videos. And basically what you do is you go in and you create, you get the link to the YouTube video and you put it into this thing, and it will give you the ability to put this player on top of the YouTube video. And a couple things. I'm so excited about it. First and foremost, it gives you the ability to turn off the ability for people to click through to the YouTube site. So, and basically they call this block your YouTube leakage. So if somebody was on, let's say if you go to learnhowtopodcast.com, for example, I have all of these videos for my tutorial. And if people click on the YouTube link or click through, they could leave my site and then all of a sudden get distracted by all kinds of related videos and all this other stuff. So this allows me to put the player on there and gives me the ability to make sure that they can't click through to that site. Now get this, YouTube allows you to upload videos and make them unlisted, meaning that nobody in the world could ever view that video unless they have the actual URL. Now I've actually taken some YouTube videos that are unlisted and shared them, and these are things that people have paid for. Specifically like my podcasting A to Z course. I have a bunch of these videos that I do for our weekly group coaching calls. And I ask people, please know that this is available. If you have this URL, you could share this. I ask that you don't. But what if they never could? What if they could never see that? Well, this lead player plugin would allow them to not be able to go and click through that unlisted video to see where that video is pulling from. So that is amazing. And here's the deal. If you think about this, this would give you unlimited free hosting of your videos because it's unlisted and you could put it on your site, embedded on your site, and people would not be able to go back to YouTube to find out where that was. This is huge. This is massively huge for me. The other thing is, let me tell you a couple of things. They have player customization. So they have 3 different themes as far as the look of the video that you can choose from. They have the ability for each video, you can turn it to autoplay on or off. For example, I would not autoplay anything on learnhowtopodcast.com. But when you come to podcastingatoz.com, maybe I might turn that on. I don't know. I'd have to check it out. It does give you the ability to allow people you can turn it on or off on whether or not people can pause the video. I personally would definitely turn on the ability to pause. You can show the timeline so people can jump from one point in the video or another. I despise it when that's turned off. So I would always leave that on for people. And then you can, like I said, include an opt-in box for your email address, or you could do a call to action button to have them be able to click. I don't know how much I'll use those other options, but again, the idea that I can use YouTube as a host for my videos and list those videos as unlisted, and then use this on top of it, have 3 themes to choose from, turn autoplay on or off, pause on or off, and show the timeline. They can skip backward and forward. And all of this works effortlessly with iOS and Android devices. So it works. It's HDMI compatible. I'm told there's Google Analytics that can be brought into this that tells you how many people are actually seeing the opt-in box when, at the certain place where you got that, which tells you how far they made it into the video. There's that. This plugin is going to be awesome. I've already paid for it. It's right here. I am going to install this and play around with it this weekend. And very soon it will probably be showing up on my learnhowtopodcast.com website. And a little thing, by the way, as it is right now, anytime people do view these videos on your site using this lead player plugin, it also does count towards your view count on YouTube. So many people may want to actually use their official videos that are available to the public that are on your channel. But if they're on your site, you'll want to keep them on your site. And if they click it the way that it is by default, it will also count towards your view count. However, I have wanted a feature for a very long time. For some reason, I've just never played around with becoming a YouTube partner. I have 2 different YouTube channels. I really don't go crazy overboard trying to promote my YouTube channel. So, but the thing is I want to be able to control my own thumbnails. And the guy that's behind this, his name is Clay, and he is he took my advice, and he's actually building into the next version of this plugin, the next update, where we are going to be able to do thumbnails, our own thumbnail on that video, on that player. The only thing is there'll be a strong word of caution that if you use the thumbnail option, your view count will not count. I mean, every view that they do when they click to play that video, if you've got that custom thumbnail on there, YouTube will not count it, because for YouTube to count it, they have to actually show the player button, which, all this other stuff. Anyway, but here's the deal. I don't care about view counts. All I care about is my thumbnail. Am I showing an image on this video player that is the image exactly the way I want it to be? And are they able to view this video? And is it actually, if it's a private video that I don't want people to see, to link back to and share that URL with other people, this is awesome. And so, with password protected pages, this is going to revolutionize, my products. And wow, I'm excited. So again, if that sounds interesting to you, go to this link, gspn.tv/lead player. And now, my friends, I am going to turn it over to that interview with Corey Miller. Here is why I love Backup Buddy. All right, my friends, I am happy to bring to you a very special interview with Corey Miller, who happens to be the CEO of iThemes, who happen to be the makers of a brand new plugin that I am thrilled to tell you about today. Corey, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Cliff, for having me.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I'm actually going to let you tell us a little bit about what Backup Buddy is and how it came into existence.
Yeah, the story about how it came into existence is a painful one, but it's a good one too, because it illustrates the need for Backup Buddy. So 2.5 years ago, we're chugging along doing WordPress themes and plugins and all that kind of stuff, and a bunch of sites on the web. We're actually hosting some sites for other people, and we had a catastrophic server crash. We lost all kinds of content, data, photos. My personal site was on this server that crashed, and we realized we didn't have a backup that could easily, we didn't have a backup anywhere, and the other, we didn't have a backup that could be easily restored back and to get all of our content. So we spent about 48 hours scraping content from Google Cache. I mean, just praying that something would show up, that somebody would have, backups of their stuff. It was a tough 48 hours, and we realized that we looked in WordPress and there were some backup solutions, but they weren't a holistic, complete backup strategy, meaning they weren't something that could schedule backups, full backups of your WordPress site, your themes, your settings, your plugins, your content, images, all that kind of stuff. And then there wasn't a solution that you could easily restore everything if you lost stuff like we did. Or let's say you wanted to move your website from one hosting company to another, or one domain to another. There wasn't a complete all-in-one solution. There were some things out there, plugins, that did some of that. So we decided, okay, we're going to learn from our painful experience. We're going to build our complete solution that we would want to use, and that became Backup Buddy. So 2 years ago, March, we released version 1 of Backup Buddy, and now it's in version 3. And we're pumped that over 100,000 sites on the web, WordPress sites, are now using Backup Buddy to safely store their content remotely, like you are with Podcast Answer Man and your other sites, off to a destination like Amazon S3 or Dropbox or whatever. And then they have an easy way to restore those if a crash happens.
Well, I want to share with folks real quickly a little bit about my philosophy here. It wasn't until I got a Mac computer that I really started to get super serious about my backups, especially running my own business, having so many business documents and everything. But having a Mac certainly introduced me to the world of Time Machine, which was so awesome that I could just plug this thing in and let it start backing up everything. But when I started creating literally hours and hours and hours of content, I have over 3,000 podcast episodes. When I've got all of these business documents that just all over the place, all over my hard drive, I'm thinking, okay, what if there's a fire? I need to have some way, if there's a tornado, fire, whatever, I need to be able to have everything that's on my computer now available to me within 24 to 48 hours. And so I started thinking about online backup services, and today I'm actually using a 3-prong approach to my backup of my local hard drive of my iMac computer. I've got Time Machine. I have Backblaze, which is an online backup service. It's $5 a month. It's kind of like the Carbonites out there and the other ones. The only big difference for me is that unlike Carbonite and some of the other services, they do not exclude video files. And since I create a lot of video tutorials, I need it to, by default, back up my videos. So Backblaze for $5 a month, they back up my entire hard drive. I've got my entire hard drive backed up on Time Machine. And not only that, but my most mission critical documents, the things that I have to have immediately, are also backed up to 100 gigabyte Dropbox account. So I've got 3-prong approach. I know for a fact that if I lost everything, I could go get a computer, sit at a Wi-Fi access spot anywhere in the world and be up and running, and I wouldn't lose anything. However, I will tell you that my backup for my websites, for my server online, had left a lot to be desired. So first and foremost, I think the only times I ever really got serious about doing a backup was when back in my shared hosting days, when I started to notice my site was down all the time because of traffic. And it started to freak me out so much that when I was finally able to get it up online and get everybody off the server for a little while, I would actually spend an entire evening downloading everything that was in my FTP. So all the way, everything in my public HTML folder, all the folders in there, subfolders, everything, I would download it all. But then, even then, I only had the the files. I didn't have the databases. And I'll be honest with you, even back then, I was just like, man, I have to go in and download each and every one of these databases. I have 9 WordPress installs. So I finally went in and started downloading the databases. But the thing is I never went in and did this on a regular basis. It's been on ever since I was able to get a full download of my entire FTP, all of my databases from GoDaddy, and then I manually set up my WordPress, everything on Bluehost. And so my last, and I can't even remember, that's several years ago, 2010, I think. And that was the last full backup of my FTP site. I have never backed up since 2010. Because when I went from Bluehost over to Servant, they just actually pulled my cPanel, did a backup of the cPanel, and uploaded it right into their servers. So I didn't even have to do anything. So I had a Podcasting A to Z student ask me, no, it was a Podcast Mastermind member, asked in our online forum it was about 3 weeks ago. He says, what's everybody in the Podcast Mastermind doing for backing up their sites just in case they were to get hacked? And I responded by saying, I have this WP or WordPress DB backup plugin installed, and it's supposed to email me my database backups. To be honest with you, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And I had been paying for this VaultPress thing for $15 a month from WordPress, and to be honest with you, I have no idea how it works. And after paying for it for a couple of years, I decided, why am I paying them $15 a month? I don't even know how it works. So I stopped that. I said, the one thing that's been on my to-do list, and it's been on my to-do list for over a year, is to contact support over at Servant and ask them to walk me through this supposed one-button backup, that I can go in and click a button and then it'll initiate a backup of my entire thing. And even then I had to find out, is that also going to grab my databases? And then somebody in that discussion thread, actually not just somebody, Daryl Tott, another member of the Podcast Mastermind, said there are 3 solutions that he recommends. And I can't remember the first one. You'll tell me in just a second, because I think you know who I'm talking about. Because there's something in your plugin that refers back to them. But anyway, he mentioned VaultPress was the third option, the solution, and Backup Buddy was the second solution. He says Backup Buddy, and one of the things he said about Backup Buddy really got my interest. And he said that Backup Buddy not only will download all your databases, it will download everything in your FTP folder if you choose to do so. And I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. That sounds exactly like what I'm looking for. The only thing is, though, is I know that I have a couple folders that have like gigabytes and gigabytes, like 40 gigabytes of data that I would want to exclude. I said, I know it's probably too much to ask, but is it possible that this plugin allows you to exclude certain folders on your FTP? And he says, well, yeah, it does actually. And I'm like, whoa. And so that got my attention. And I'll be honest with you, just because of how busy I am, Corey, I'd almost never, there's probably maybe a 10% chance that I would have actually followed through and looked up Backup Buddy. I think I had become too complacent, just assuming that Servant Hosting is doing a good backup of my site, and that if anything happened, that they could restore me. But I know deep in my heart that that's not true. And then, Corey, like last week, it was about a week ago, you contacted me. And why? Why did you contact me? How did you hear about me?
So I saw a post on Social Media Examiner about this guy called Podcast Answer Man, and I was intrigued, and I noticed you were a big thesis user, WordPress user, had all these guides and classes and stuff around WordPress, in particular, the podcasting angle, of course. And so I just thought, well, I'll just reach out to him and say, hey, do you have a good backup? I'd love to walk you through Backup Buddy.
Actually, you said you in your email, you were more gracious than that. You said, I'm sure you already have, being the guy that you are and with all these tutorials, you probably already have a really great and even redundant backup system in place. But I'd love to tell you about my plugin just in case.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I wanted to tell you one thing, Cliff, that the belief that your shared host or hosting company is backing up your site is definitely a misnomer. You cannot rely on your shared host or even dedicated hosting company to do backups. So we were with HostGator at the time. We had a dedicated box, and we were scrambling when we lost all that data. We said, hey, do you guys have a backup? Nope. They tried to pull some things that I can't even remember what it was called, but we had no hope. So it's your responsibility to back up your own data. And I ask people, you're the epitome of this, the example of this, because you're streaming content, you're recording content. Content is your most valuable asset, most likely in your business. And when we looked on your site, you had gigs and gigs of just stuff. So I asked people, how much are those blog posts and those images, in your case, those podcast episodes and recordings worth to you? And the sad thing is, it's just like insurance. Full coverage insurance on my car doesn't matter until somebody hits me and takes off from the scene, right? You don't think about insurance until you really, really need it. But we go back and say, how much is your time and your energy and your creativity and your content worth to you?
Right.
So it was interesting for sure to know, but you jumped on it because you had it on your to-do list, and that was awesome.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, and I think it's a little bit unfortunate that I have this benefit that you had reached out to me, and obviously you can't reach out to every single person, and I think there's a good reason why maybe you might have reached out to me and we spent probably 2 or 3 hours on GoToMeeting last week. It was awesome.
Do stuff, yeah, absolutely.
But I'm sure you're not going to be able to do that with everyone. But here's the thing, you're first. Let me tell you where this idea that the backups are there. With Servant, I do believe they are doing nightly backups of my server, because I had an issue before, and they said, you know what, let us just roll you back to what you had yesterday. And you'll just have to republish anything you published today. And they did that, and it was there. So I do believe Servant is doing a good job for me there. But you're right. I can't rely on that. Podcast Answer Man for me is, it is this is my income. Now, I could rebuild Podcast Answer Man from scratch with even the 2010 version, and I could actually pull my RSS off of something and rebuild it and pull, I've got all the images. It would take 3 to 5 days to get it back to where it was. And you're right. My time is so much more valuable than trying to put all that stuff together. And there's no doubt that I'd miss something here and there in the event that a Servant backup didn't go well and they didn't have it for me. But you're right. So you emailed me. It was already on my mind, and it's like all of a sudden it's like somebody I respect from the Podcast Mastermind said, "Backup Buddy, really, Cliff, seems to me it would be your best option, and you really should get it." And I'm like, okay, it's moved. This whole backup of my server, all of my website stuff. This has gone from on my to-do list with my top, being number 1. It's gone from item number 87 up to like 32, okay? Which basically means it'll get done sometime within the next 18 months. But your email literally came in within 1 week of this discussion on our forums for the Podcast Mastermind, and I'm like, you know what? Hey, are you available to chat about this via GoToMeeting and run me through this thing? Because I just really need to completely eliminate the learning curve. And that's exactly what you did. We got on GoToMeeting last week, and one of the first questions I asked you was, how does this compare to, let's say, WordPress's official Vault Press, which is something to this day I still don't understand, and I did decide to quit paying for it just because I couldn't wrap my mind around what in the heck they were doing. Yeah.
Let me make one important caveat that a lot of WordPress users don't understand. WordPress is open source. It's the communities. Automatic, with 2 T's, Matt Mullenweg, the co-founder of WordPress, that's his private company that's for profit. The WordPress.org is a free open source community project. Automatic is the one that's behind VaultPress. A lot of people say WordPress is official. It's not. It's Automatic's official. I just like to say that because us here in Oklahoma, we've got 20 plus people on our team working pretty hard. We feel like we've got the best solution. Obviously, we're proud of our products, right? But you asked me, so the differences between VaultPress or some different backups, is that what you said? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I got off on my tangent.
Well, what's the difference between VaultPress and your Backup Buddy plugin?
Highly respect Automatic and VaultPress. The three things that'll be different for us, and we obviously know our product the best, is control. So when you buy Backup Buddy or any plugin from us or any theme, you get complete control of that. You can download it, you can use it, you can hack it. You don't want to hack it, but you can hack it if you wanted to. It's yours. Once you download it, it's yours. So control. VaultPress is a hosted solution. So you pay them. It's just like you're hosting. You don't actually own the server. You're renting the server. In the same way, VaultPress is a hosted software as a service solution. The second I would say was price. If you look at comparison between Backup Buddy, the unlimited license that we have with Backup Buddy, any site. So like, for instance, you could use it on all 15, 20, I can't even remember how many sites you have. You can use it on as many sites as you want for $150 a year. Now, the membership price is basically for support and upgrades. We just had our big push for version 3 in June. So during your membership year, you get all of those updates when WordPress updates for free as part of your membership, plus support. We've got 3-4 people dedicated just to Backup Buddy and plugin support. So if you have a question, nearly 24 hours a day, we don't promise that, you can find help there. So price is the biggest one. You were saying VaultPress is $15 a month, and I believe that's for 1 or 2 domains.
It's one.
At Backup Buddy, the lowest price tier we have is $75 for a year. That includes 2 sites. But for $150, you can get unlimited. You can do it on any WordPress site you have. So control, then price. And then I would say, here's the biggest thing, but the difference between backups and other plugins and what Backup Buddy does is the restore process. What good is a backup? What good is your Mac Time Machine? What good is your Backblaze and all the other backup solutions you have if you can't restore everything back to the way it was easily? And so what we say is, Backup Buddy with the import buddy feature, like we were walking through with you a week or so ago, is if your sites crash, you upload the zip file that you stored safely on Amazon S3 and the import buddy script. You go to that on your site and you walk through 6 steps and you're done. We've had people say, I had an entire site, 5 gigs, 50 gigs, whatever it is. It crashed, something happened, somebody made a mistake. That was one of our server crash problems. Somebody made a mistake between a period and a comma. That's crashed our entire server. With Backup Buddy, the import buddy script, and the zip file of your remotely stored, safely stored backup, full backup, you're up in no time. So when you said, Cliff, 3 to 5 days for you to restore everything, your time is worth so much money in those 5 days. Personally, as a customer or client of yours, I would rather you be creating new content than going back and fixing a mistake. I'd rather you create original good content with those 3 to 5 days, that I'm going to benefit from, rather than doing something as tedious and as heartbreaking as restoring your backup. So control, price, and the restore function. Now VaultPress and other solutions have those functionalities into it, but it's what they call a white glove service. Somebody has to help you with that. Now you may run into problems, and that's why we have a support team ready to help you. However, I want to be able to restore my site with, I'm a kind of control freak. Us entrepreneurs are kind of control freaks sometimes. I want to be able to have the power to do all that by myself, and I think most users do too.
Well, and that's exactly my problem. That's why I finally quit paying WordPress or VaultPress, because I didn't know what they were backing up. All they did is said, "Oh, you're good." I'm like, okay, but what are you backing up? Are you backing up my database? Are you backing up my WP content folder? Are you, what if I actually created a folder in the same directory as my WordPress installation, but I called it images, and sometimes I actually upload it folder or files right into there, and then just link directly to that images in that folder instead of uploading them through WordPress. Are you backing that up? I mean, there was no indication to me anywhere within VaultPress, and I'm sure I could have read it in documentation, but who wants to read documentation? Seriously? I don't have time to read documentation.
And
so my biggest problem with VaultPress is I didn't know what they were backing up. And I will tell you that when we installed Backup Buddy on my system, it's like, hey, it seems to me that we're inside this folder, and just so you know, we're going to back up everything by default. We're going to back up everything that is inside of this folder where WordPress exists. We're going to back up everything. And by the way, it looks like that inside this folder, you have subfolders that actually host other WordPress sites. Do you want us to we're going to back them up by default, but if you'd like, you could exclude that. And of course, with Podcast Answer Man, there is a folder in there called media. So podcastanswerman.com/media won't show you anything because you have to have a direct URL to a file in there. But that thing's got like 40 gigabytes in it. And I don't want to back that up every single time. I can do one backup here locally called, PAM/media or pan-media. And anytime I upload a new file into the server, I can just also create a copy of that and put it in my backup here. So I don't need Backup Buddy to do that. And I don't need VaultPress. I don't need anybody. So I have control. And so I love that I know visually exactly what I'm backing up. And I loved also that I can say, you know what? I don't need a full backup every hour. I'm going to, on Podcast Answer Man, I was able to say, you know what? For Podcast Answer Man, I want to back up a full backup every 24 hours. But I also want a database only every hour. Every hour I want a Podcast Answer Man database backup, and once a day I want a full backup. And then over at gspn.tv, I want a full backup once a week, and I want a database only backup every 24 hours, so once a day. On some of my older sites like Virtual Assistant Podcast, I want a full backup once a week, and I want a database backup once a day. So I was able to go in and fine tune that. This was beautiful. The other thing is that I noticed that you have Dropbox integration. So I obviously, with Dropbox recently doubling the size of their accounts, that makes it a pretty decent option if you have a small enough backup to where it's no problem to store it in one of the files. It basically just creates a file folder inside of your Dropbox account, and it will drop, the zip files that are backed up into there. But the cool thing is this got me back into Amazon S3. I hadn't used Amazon S3 since 2008, and went and reactivated that account. And it for me, it took a little bit of some help from you guys to set it up, just because I hadn't used Amazon S3 really even since 2008. Because in 2008 I was just playing around with it. I didn't know what I was doing. But you guys helped me understand that real quick. And I just checked before we started recording, and I signed into Amazon S3, and I created different buckets for each site, and I just clicked through. And in fact, in Amazon S3, I created a bucket for database only backups and a bucket for the full backups. So I actually know exactly where I'm going to find those backups that I'm looking for. And I just checked, and they're there. I can see that Podcast Answer Man, the database only backup, it's got tons of them because it's been running for 9 days, and it's every hour on the hour for 9 days, it's done a backup. And I love it. It absolutely, you're right. I am a control freak, and I like to be in control. And more than being in control, I like to always be able to go in and physically see the backup. Well,
I highly recommend Amazon S3. We had this conversation the other day, because just like I put my money in a bank that is, concerned highly with my security of my money instead of my mattress, Amazon S3 stores that safely remotely into Amazon's cloud and all that kind of stuff. And then just for peace of mind, you can go refresh and go, all my stuff's there. And then Backup Buddy will tell you in the WordPress from your WordPress dashboard that those backups are good. But if you ever doubt, you click the Import Buddy script, go to a test folder somewhere, restore your database, and see that everything's there. So you have that peace of mind. That's something I probably should have put on the previous one, is peace of mind of just going, everything's safely stored. I like logging into my bank and knowing that my money is still there,
Yep. And that's the other thing I like is like you said, you have this thing, it's called importbuddy.php. It's just a little tiny script. And just to know that if anything ever happens, all I need to do is upload that zip file. I'll download it from Amazon S3, upload it to the folder via FTP, and run importbuddy.php, type in my password, and I'm off to the races. I can, go to lunch and then come back and boom, my site's right back to where it was when I left off. So anyway, so how much is, okay, so you said for 2 sites, basically there are a lot of people that are listening, they only have 1 site to worry about. So for 2 sites, they can get Backup Buddy for $75, is that right?
$75.
All right. And then you said unlimited, and of course there are many of us out there who we run a lot of different sites, and we can get the unlimited for $150, is that right?
Yep.
And you said yearly. So now after 1 year is up, do you pay again for support? Or if everything's fine, you don't need to worry about it? How does that work?
We have a customer discount that we provide for the second year. So, WordPress updates, and the model is WordPress updates 3-4 times a year. And with WordPress, there's things that change, and that's why we feel very confident and good about our business model, because we want people to have ongoing updates for the plugins and themes they have. So the second year it renews, you can use the customer loyalty discount, we call it, and continue to get the great updates. So for instance, by the end of the year, we have several new features we're really excited about. One is an online storage option beyond S3 and Dropbox and all that kind of stuff. But you'll have access to the new features that come out in your membership years. So the incentive is to continue to renew your membership so that you get all the new goodness that comes out with the plugins. And by the way, we've got 19 other premium plugins out there besides Backup Buddy. Backup Buddy is just our leader by far. So we've got a whole Display Buddy series that does image rotations, text rotations, cool stuff on your front end of your site. We even have an email newsletter plugin for sites that have really small audiences that just want to get started. And like I said, 19 other plugins.
Well, one last question that's in my mind. I just want to make sure and answer this for anybody who's thinking about going to use my affiliate link to get signed up. So let's say they go to gspn.tv/backup buddy, which is my affiliate link, and they go there, they purchase the plugin. At the end of 1 year, are they automatically going to be billed again, or do you email them with the offer to renew?
We email with the offer. I kind of don't like that whole auto renew thing, so we don't do that in our business. So you have the option to auto renew, and again, right before your membership is up, download the plugin and you got it.
Yep. Very, very cool. Well, Corey, I can't tell you how. I can. I have been sleeping better. I'm not just saying this. I am sleeping better because I do know that not only is my local computer backed up in 3 different places, but I also know now that all 9 WordPress installations and every single tiny, minute little file that's hosted anywhere on my servant hosting web server is also backed up. And that is a peace of mind that I haven't had for a very long time. And the cool thing is I have 39 members of the podcast mastermind who now all understand, not just from Daryl, but also from me, that Backup Buddy is awesome. And not only that, but my podcasting A to Z course, I have 32 students who are learning how to podcast for the very first time. And I'm looking in the chat room right now. Ben Wilson is there. He said, we just got Backup Buddy installed on 3 sites yesterday. Thanks, Cliff. So everybody go over to gspn.tv/ Backup Buddy. It is awesome. Corey, thank you so much for, number one, reaching out to me originally, and also thank you for coming on to Podcast Answer Man.
My pleasure.
All right, my friends. Well, that is going to wrap it up for this incredibly long, but hopefully very helpful episode of Podcast Answer Man. So excited to share with you this PlugInPalooza episode. Hey, I've got a couple things I want to mention at the end of the episode. I know I've already mentioned so much, but first and foremost, I want to say thank you to Ben Wilson from benscarts.com. That's plural on Ben and plural on cart. So benscarts.com. Ben purchased some things using my B&H photo affiliate link on my site. Wade Wingler from fathersover40.com also purchased some gear using my B&H photo link. And if you guys have used my affiliate links with B&H in any way, would you do me a favor? Send me an email. I'd love to thank you personally for that. Also, want to say thank you to those of you who have been using my Bluehost affiliate link to set up your WordPress site. BrianHolmes.tv, that's HOLMES.tv, BrianHolmes.tv. By the way, Brian, amazing looking site. Then my good friend Hoon has TeachYourBabyEnglish.com. And then a brand new one came in just yesterday, LaserTiger.com. That's LASER Tiger.com. I don't know what that one's going to be. Again, that one, I don't know who is even behind that one. So I'm a little concerned sometimes when I promote these. But anyway, thank you to those of you who are using my Bluehost link. You guys rock. If you want to find out what I think about hosting, you can find that at podcastanswerman.com/hosting. And then one last thing, and yes, another affiliate link. Speak It Forward Bootcamp. I am going to be speaking, or not, I'm not going to be speaking. I'm going to go to improve my speaking at Kent Julian's Speak It Forward Bootcamp. This is where I'm not charging, but I am paying hundreds of dollars for somebody to teach me how to do something. Somebody's going to be teaching me how to take something to the next level, and that is going to be my public speaking. I want to become a better public speaker. I've been doing a lot of public speaking. I'm doing a keynote for the Catholic New Media Conference in August. At the end of this month, I'll be in Texas. If you want to find out about that, it's at CatholicNewMediaConference.com. But anyway, if you also want to join me in taking your public speaking to the next level, then I encourage you to come to the Speak It Forward Bootcamp. Come join me in Atlanta, I believe it is. Anyway, it's in October. Full details, here's the link. gspn.tv/SIF for Speak It Forward. Again, that's gspn.tv/SIF. That, my friends, is going to conclude this PlugInPalooza episode. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I love to hear from you in the comment section over at podcastanswerman.com/271.